All right. As I had mentioned before, we are going to be discussing Numbers Part 9. So we can get some context here. Yes, and the quote for this part is, "Fame is like a river that beareth up things light and swollen, and drowns things weighty and solid." So this is from of praise, maybe by Francis Bacon. I'm Bacon, most of them. Let me go ahead and read it one more time. "Fame is like a river that beareth up things light and swollen, and drowns things weighty and solid." All right, so we are going to talk about some maybe famous people that progress in the story of the Israelites. So we are actually going to discuss what I would say is the very first women's movement, if you want to classify something of this nature like that, is the very first women's movement, perhaps in the Bible, perhaps of all time. But we're going to go ahead and read to see what that is. Also, we have a new crowning, a new authority that came up within the Israelite community. We are going to learn about that. So it has to do with fame, and then of course we have our famous holidays as well that we're going to go over, just some things, the Day of Atonement, Passover, that sort of thing. So let's go ahead and begin. Just a short little reading today. Let's start with chapter 27. "The daughters of Zelophehad, son of Hepher, the son of Gilead, the son of Makir, the son of Manasseh, belonged to the clans of Manasseh, son of Joseph." So here we see the lineage going all the way back to Joseph. And as we remember here, Manasseh was one of two Joseph's sons from his Egyptian wife, right? So that's Manasseh's line. So we're talking about the daughters of Zelophehad, and you can see how far it goes down since that time of Joseph. The names of the daughters were Mahlah, Noah, Hogla, Milkah and Tirzah. They came forward and stood before Moses, Eleazar the priest, the leaders and the whole assembly at the entrance to the tent of meeting, and said, "Our father died in the wilderness. He was not among Korah's followers who banded together against the Lord, but he died for his own sin and left no sons. Why should our father disappear from his clan because he had no son? Give us property among our father's relatives." And then God himself spoke to Moses and said, "What Zelophehad's daughters are saying is right. You must certainly give them property as an inheritance among their father's relatives, and give their father's inheritance to them." So wonderful. I would definitely describe this as a women's movement, right? We have 5 sisters who came with courage and presented themselves before not only Moses, but Eleazar, the leaders, and the whole assembly, and they stood at the entrance of the tent of meeting. So again, that's kind of a big deal, and very, very cool. And then of course God was like, yes, of course, why not? That is exactly what needs to happen. So that was great. That was a good success point for these famous daughters from the line of Manasseh, carrying out the inheritance. Moses said to the Lord, this is kind of the next part, sorry. Moses said to the Lord, "May the Lord, the God who gives breath to all living things, appoint someone over this community to go out and come in before them, one who will lead them out and bring them in, so the Lord's people will not be like sheep without a shepherd." So Moses is saying this perhaps because he's getting old. We don't discuss any illness or anything that Moses has, but he might just be sensing that he needs to think of a plan eventually. Aaron had just passed away. Moses is certainly up there in years. So he's trying to be a forward thinker and think, I do need a successor. I need somebody who will take the reins of this community. So the Lord said to Moses, "Take Joshua, son of Nun, a man in whom is the spirit of leadership, and lay your hand on him. Have him stand before Eleazar the priest and the entire assembly, and commission him in their presence. Give him some of your authority, so the whole Israelite community will obey him." So again, another very famed point, right? Moses is taking some of his authority and presenting it for Joshua. And as we remember, Joshua was one of the leaders that that did go out and see the land of Canaan, but when he came back, he did not spread a bad report. He said the land is good, left it at that. He did not instill fear in the people. So he was one of the 2 leaders that did not perish after that journey of going to see the land of Canaan. As we know, the other leaders, because they spread a bad report and because they instilled the fear, they had a severe consequence. Sorry. Okay. So now we have, a new power, Joshua. Let's go ahead and read a little bit about the daily offerings and the different festivals. So daily offerings. The accompanying drink offering is to be 1/4 of a hin of fermented drink with each lamb. Pour out the drink offering to the Lord at the sanctuary. The Passover. On the 15th day of this month, there is to be a festival. For 7 days eat bread made without yeast. The Festival of Weeks. Present a burnt offering of 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and 7 male lambs a year old, as an aroma pleasing to the Lord. The Day of Atonement. On the 10th day of this 7th month, hold a sacred assembly. You must deny yourselves and do no work. Festival of Tabernacles. On the 2nd day, offer 12 young bulls, 2 rams, and 14 male lambs a year old, all without defect. With the bulls, rams, and lambs, offer their grain offerings and drink offerings according to the number specified. With the bull, rams, and the lambs, offer their grain offering and drink offerings according to the number specified. So we'll just take a short break here to discuss the importance of the festivals. Like we said, the Passover is still something that's celebrated today, and something to keep in mind. This is not something that we can really keep to, maybe not all of us can keep to in this day. We're not all successful animal rearers, right? We don't have a lot of capability when it comes to sacrificing animals ourselves and things like that. But there's different things as we hear this that we can keep in mind to really just push the traditions forward and really just offer thanks, right? Again, we mentioned cooking before, right? Cooking a meal, being grateful, and not getting too upset if maybe you have leftover food or you mess something up, which I often do. Sometimes I'll burn bread or something if I leave it into the oven too long. Not get too upset, because we can, if you're cooking in spirit and if you're cooking with the Lord in mind, you can offer these things as offerings almost, and you don't have to feel bad about things going to waste entirely. So again, it's not something that we can really apply to life this day and age, but just in the little ways that we take care of ourselves and we treat ourselves, we think, why are we taking care of ourselves? Why are we nourishing our bodies? And it is for the honor of the Lord, and to really just honor Him, the fact that, our bodies are for Him and He created them, they're by Him, they're, it's a temple for the Lord. So all of these things, we have to think about nourishment and how we can incorporate these special moments of offering and these special, just the pure thought and just thinking of the Lord when you're doing certain things is very, very important. So again, just taking it's hard to take a lot of things from the Old Testament and apply them now, but I've noticed just the amount of time that we've spent going over this kind of stuff, it's easier to draw parallels, and we see things in our daily life that you're like, oh, that's interesting. We were just talking about burning offerings, burning food, and I just burnt the bread. So it's certain things like that you can start to think about. But let's go ahead and talk about the vows really quickly. There's some vows, or if people make vows to the Lord, it's kind of like offering yourself service to the church, how people would dedicate themselves to the church, but this one is more like vows between each other, vows between the community. Moses said to the head tribes of Israel, "This is what the Lord commands. When a man makes a vow," this is actually to the Lord, my apologies. "When a man makes a vow to the Lord or takes an oath to obligate himself by a pledge, he must not break his word, but must do everything he said." And then it goes into if a woman makes a vow, if she marries after she makes a vow or after her lips utter a rash promise by which she obligates herself, and her husband hears about it and says nothing to her, then her vows or the pledges by which she has obligated herself will stand. So again, this is just talking about promises and having certain promises, keeping your promises, right? If you have a promise, keep it. If it somehow interferes with your family, like if it's a woman and it interferes with her family and her husband or her father objects to it, it will fall loose. It's not something that needs to be maintained. But if their father or husband does not say anything, then she can go ahead and continue to carry out the vow and is pledged, her pledge, and she is obligated to it, just like a man is obligated to his word and his promise. So again, things like that, it's not something that we really think about day to day, but just remembering to mind your commitments, keep your promises. If you say you're going to do something, but not if it conflicts with anybody else around you, if that makes sense. So short, I told you it was going to be short reading. I have to get into my day, but I hope you all have a great one, and thank you for listening.